Do you want to save the planet? Do you want to heal yourself? Or do you just want to bitch and moan about it? If you just want to bitch and moan about it, that's fine. But I don't want to be around you, and I'm going to focus and go to the people. That's what Jesus says. He says, let the dead bury the dead, and don't throw your pearls before the swine. Pretty harsh words from supposedly the Prince of Peace. I know I'm being pretty direct there, but it's time, people. It's time that we heal ourselves. You can blame the government. You can blame the evil banksters, and all that's true. But if you stay in blame, blame is lame, and you'll go down with the ship. You want to go down with the ship? Stay that way. If you want to wake yourself up, start waking yourself up.
Okay. Tobias, a couple questions here on the text chat. The last one is about the levitated vehicle. Do you have a web page or some place to get the literature on how to build one?
I'll give you a funny anecdote one. This is for some of you that are interested in this. This is a fun anecdote that how much of this stuff exists. This is going to sound absolutely crazy. Now, Dr. Stephen Greer, and look, the UFO field is fraught with disinformation and all kinds of infighting because they, whenever you're just stuck in your head and your heart and your belly and your sexuality are not involved with being a complete human, it gets pretty weird. So, but Dr. Stephen Greer, in my opinion, there's some good information there. The Orion Project, I think, .org. But this one, if you want some fun anecdote, there was a Canadian guy who built a granite. Yep, granite is a rock. That's why the main chamber in the Great Pyramid of Giza is made of granite. Granite has some very, very strange properties. It's sort of a frequency rock that has type of rock that has strange properties. Google granite starship and see what you come up with. It's just really bizarre. This guy in Canada built a granite starship that he said these beings from the planet Verdant, I think, told him to build, and he flew it off into the sky. I mean, it sucked the energy out of the whole town, and it's documented. So there's all kinds of stuff going on out there. I am not a builder of starships, but I've seen some of the crop circles, I would venture to say, are actual hints and diagrams at some of those mechanics. Mm-hmm. And there are people that are playing with it. You will get visited immediately by those that don't want you to do this. If you build one that works, probably. But if more and more of us hold the idea that this can be possible, and I would like to have it. My little 5-year-old, Joy's granddaughter, Chloe, manifests stuff. The way she does that is she says, I want this. And she just tells the universe, I want that. And it shows up in mysterious ways. Well, if we have the faith of a child in the innocence and say, I would like not to kill animals. I would like to see millions of women out there who just say, I don't want to kill animals anymore that way with cars. We need something else. I don't know how they're going to do it. I don't want to hear about the mathematics. I don't want to go to science class. I don't want to be around egghead scientists that create it, but I want it. Just the way Chloe creates. She says, I don't know how it works. I just tell God I want something, and he gives it to me. That's the faith of a child. That's innocence. Well, millions of us can do that. Guess who has the power on this planet? We do. We do. Each one of us has as much, well, it depends on how much you've developed it, but potentially each one of us has, talk about one vote to one person. You have the cosmic vote. Everyone right now, I'm reminding you all that you have the cosmic vote, the universal vote, much more powerful than being an American citizen, by the way, or any other kind of citizen. You have a God vote. You have a God vote. You can tell God what you want on planet Earth. Start doing it. Why not take 5 minutes at night as you're laying down in bed and go, God, I want this on Earth. I don't want to kill animals as much as we do. I would prefer us not to shoot each other in the head. It'd be nice to not have pharmaceutical drugs, just like killing my grandma. She has Alzheimer's. I'd like to see, some healthy energy. I'd like to see us to get along. I'd like to see the overpopulation thing get control of. Maybe we don't have to kill 35 million cows every year. Tell God what you want. Are you doing it? If you're not doing it, you're not using your vote. You're not voting. You're not voting. Rock the vote. You want to rock the vote? do the cosmic God vote.
Very good, because you know what? God rocks.
God made the rocks, and God rocks. Yeah, and God, what was that song by Kiss? God gave rock and roll to us. Right on, absolutely true. But yeah, think about that. Isn't that simple? How many of us are not using our vote? Do you ever feel guilty? I didn't vote. You know, we got those presidents that kind of sucked, and I didn't even vote. I don't want to tell anybody I didn't bother voting, you know.
I totally know the feeling, but hold that right there, Tobias. It is that time. We will be right back after this short break. Tobias Lars, soulcounseling.com. Stay tuned, Truth Brigade Radio. So much for joining us here tonight. Truth Brigade on AmericanFreedomRadio.com. We are talking about spirit travel adventures with Tobias Lars, author of Listening to the Sun and Awakening Souls, SoulCounseling.com, or CourseOfAwakening.com. And Tobias, there's a few questions here in the text chat, but, you know, I'm here posting pictures from the adventure. And, you know, these are just dogs. They're just dogs. I mean, look at how playful and friendly and fun and honest and real and just, I mean, incredibly wise and beautiful. Yet we fear them. It just, you know, kind of blows my mind. I mean, I don't know, did they start with the sun or the wolves first? Has a bit of progression to get us to fear things that aren't exactly like us? Is that natural to fear these beautiful creations? Uh-oh. We lost Tobias. I think he got eaten by a wolf.
I'm back.
I hear ya. Okay.
My mute button. I got to remember to unmute there.
Yeah.
No, I mean, there's certain energies in the universe that feed on fear, you know. There are certain beings in human form or whatever form that feed on fear. You know, they're the kind of bullies that once you stand up for them, they back down and lick your boots, you know. But if you're afraid of them, they step on you and control you and that kind of energy. It feeds on fear. So there's a push on Earth. There are certain beings that you can call demonic or whatever, that they feed on human fear. And so they like to promote fear, you know, whether it's the fear of bankruptcy or the fear of physical attack or the fear of looking stupid or the fear of don't question because you will laugh at you, or, you know, social fear, physical fear, emotional fear, all that. And what better way to make sure we're disconnected from the source within us is to make that which is natural and from God, from the real true source, make it fearful. And that's why that programming is there. Everything. I'm looking at a Hopi snake dancer picture right now. He's got 4 or 5 snakes, rattlesnakes, he's holding in each hand. And the Hopis do the snake dance. And the snake dance is dying out now. I don't know the last time they did it. And the snakes would choose them, and they would set the snakes free after this. And it was part of being in harmony with the Kundalini. The snake energy is not evil, but we have rejected that Kundalini force inside ourselves, our spinal column, and reduced it to the caduceus, which is usurped, co-opted by the medical community, and most people have no clue what it means. So native peoples would do the dances with the snakes sometimes, and they're not worshiping snakes. They're feeling that pure energy. If you ever watch a snake move, you'll feel shivers up your spine. Why? Because it's reactivating your natural God energy, which is in your spinal column. The pillar of fire that Moses talks about. By the way, Google right now, Moses' staff and the snake. He built the thing with snakes on it for the Israelites. Why? Well, let's not talk about that. That's too weird. We better not ever mention that in our Jewish and
That's right.
Yeah. But he builds a staff that he has live snakes on. Are they worshiping the snake? No, they're doing the same thing this Hopi snake dancer is doing. It is reconnecting that which is most primal. When we develop as babies, there's ancient Tibetan manuscripts that show this graphically, pictorially, the first part of the brain that develops is the reptilian brain. Now, it would be really good to make sure that reptiles are evil so we can reject we've been programmed to reject the most fundamental part of ourselves. The most self-hatred possible is if we reject our own natural instincts, like sexuality, like feeling your kundalini, like being able to talk to plants or hang out with wolves. You know, we always make fun of those people. You know, oh, he's like talks to animals. He's kind of weird, you know. But it's coming back now that we realize we have to live in harmony with nature for us to survive. You know, we get all these unnatural diseases, you know, phobias, because we're not in touch with the natural cycles. Those that eat naturally and live naturally live 50 years longer than other people, and they don't have any of the weird designer, consumer, industrial diseases that we create. Mm-hmm. Native peoples, when they started eating refined foods, is when their teeth went bad. There's a German doctor that studied that, and he said he saw 3 generations of people that he worked with throughout his lifetime, and the grandparents were fine, but the grandkids were terrible. And the only thing that changed was that there was refined foods that came in, and they quit eating naturally off the nature, you know, the way it's grown naturally by the sun. So anyway, yeah, we're programmed to fear it because there's an agenda to keep us fearful in our apartments and feed off of us, and eventually they're probably going to want to plug us actually into the TV. We'll actually come home and just plug the thing into the back of our heads, and we'll just lay there and get total virtual reality programming. But what's really happening is our soul energy is being sucked away and used by this sort of demonic frequency controlling thing. Yeah.
Absolutely. Very well said, Tobias. But it's that time. We will be right back after this short break. Tobias Lars, spirittravel.com is the website, Truth Brigade Radio. Welcome back. Top of the second hour here tonight, Truth Brigade on AmericanFreedomRadio.com with Tobias Lars. And Tobias, we have a few questions here. So let me ask you this while we're still on wolves. One of the questions was, I have heard there is no genetic difference to this day between dogs and wolves, and as such, all dogs are still wolves. Is this correct?
I don't know. Leighton would know the details, but obviously there's some genetic difference. Not enough. They can obviously interbreed, you know. Like, for example, foxes cannot breed with wolves or dogs because they're not a canine. But they're the same. Obviously, dogs came out of wolves. So, yes, they are the descendants of wolves. Dogs. Okay.
Well, we'll save that question for Leighton then, when we have him on. But here's another one, and, you know, I get this all the time. Here we go. Oh. Well, basically just comments about, well, I'm not free, you know that. I have way too many responsibilities. How can we really break free or break loose or even see, are these responsibilities, are they something that we really need or just something we're accustomed to? How can we break free and sow our wild oats or feel that free spirit?
We, like everything else, we just take our next step. We just do the next step. It's sort of like if you're used to eating a certain diet your whole life, you know, a normal sort of processed diet with meats and milk and too much, if all of a sudden you go totally raw food diet, you're going to have massive headaches and detox going on. So you do things gradually. If you're going to learn to work out again, you don't go in and work out with someone that works out for 3 hours weightlifting in one day. You know, you start gently, otherwise you're not going to be able to move the next morning, you know. So it's the same with our spiritual life. You're not going to, 25 watts on a 25-watt light bulb is exactly right. If I plug in 1,000 watts into a 100-watt light bulb, that light bulb just pops. You know, it doesn't work. The same with God's energy. That's why you can't the saying or the perception of no human can stand face-to-face with God and survive, which isn't true. But you have to work up to it, you know. You can't instantly go, oh, I'm going to run a marathon tomorrow. I've never trained.